Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. We are talking to you guys about Brittany Renner, speaking about turning a hoe into a housewife. First of all, foremost, we're going to play the video. So I want to let you know, if your kids are watching this video, listen, it's got strong language. So please, this is probably not the video for your kids on this particular version. It's particularly not the video for them. All right, it's got some strong language and themes in this particular video. So before you play it, just know this is not for your little kid. All right, cool. Thank you. All right, let's do the house rules. First of all, if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of what uploads. For those of you who are returnees, but they know what it is, baby, you got the minerals. You got the minerals. We're going to talk about turning a hoe into a housewife and dealing with Brittany Renner. We're going to speak about what is she doing at this moment releasing these videos, because I want to break down some of the psychology that's happened behind it. When you read The Art of Seduction, a lot of the stuff starts to make sense and starts to really break down as to why she's doing these kind of videos. So we'll talk about it. But before we do get it out, make sure as well you guys stay hydrated. You already know what it is, baby. All right, let's get into the video. I'm going to bring it up on the screen here. So you guys can watch. Before we do. Okay, first and foremost, like I said in the last video, I said you guys, the way she dressed was really important, okay? She dressed in a certain way, she had, skin on show, etc. On this particular occasion, she's wearing a t-shirt, wearing some leggings. But again, we're in a position where we're looking up into her face and we're almost in between her thighs once again. I want to let you know this is a very conscious position of the camera, okay? Now, she might have said she couldn't put on a dashboard because the dashboard kept on sliding. But the way the camera is held at the low position there is very, very, very purposeful, okay? All right, we're looking up into her, which gives her also an air of power in the dynamics when it comes to power, when it comes to levels, right? Now, I know we're not actually in the presence of Brittany, but it's about creating that impression, okay? Now, she may not be thinking about this consciously, but this is done almost as a second nature or first nature as an individual's instincts when you begin to flow in a certain character. Brittany is now beginning to play a particular character, okay? She's characterizing herself. Okay, she's playing the character of Brittany Renner. What do I mean by this? When we as an audience begin to summarize what Brittany Renner is, we say she's this, she's that, she's this, she's that. The person can then begin to create the image that they said that she is and begin to play in that role and playing that character as the role. Right? So being overtly sexual, being overtly ambiguous, being overtly trying to create storms, get men triggered, get women triggered, trying to say things that are going to get people riled up, right? That becomes part of the caricature. It becomes part of the character of Brittany Renner rather than actually being Brittany Renner. And actually, it's a really good way that artists in the past used to try and deflect from the original person, right? So I remember I was reading Art Seduction, and some of this stuff comes out where artists will create a character, be more mysterious, be more sexual, be more overt, when really that's not them, because what that does is people fall in love with a character, but it gives them an ability to distance themselves from you. Right, so you don't get to know the real them, and oftentimes it's also done as a defense mechanism, so that people can't get to know them deeply on another level. It doesn't allow people to get close to them. Why? If they get close to them, they can be vulnerable and they can be hurt again. So now I think what's happening with Brittany Renner is that she's creating this character, and this character is going to keep going along this pathway where she's triggering other people. Don't get twisted. I know she's written books in the past. Yes, she has. About how she, certain people in basketball and this and that, how they can easily be, taken advantage of, etc. I get it, right? But we're starting to see a caricature come out more and more, right? And I believe it's not the true her. It's not the true her. I think she's now beginning to play into it more and more. But we're going to listen to this. You may disagree. But let's play a little bit with this and talk to it. By the way, again, remember I said there is strong language in this. Please, if your young kids are watching this, there's strong themes and languages in this. I don't want your kids to be saying, repeating some of the stuff like in this video.
Can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Good. Because I'm both. You don't have to choose.
Now, I want to say, Brittany is so funny. I find her funny. I don't gonna lie to you, I find her funny. She's chosen to take a route, and I think I said this in my last video, where she is, this is trying to create the fantasy almost trying to promote the fantasy, right? So it's like, okay, the housewife is what men want to marry, right? Remember I said this about Ayesha Curry and the IG model. The housewife is what the men want to marry, but they don't want her to stay a housewife. They want to marry the housewife, but they want the hoe inside the house. Okay, all right. We want the housewife, the HO, inside the marriage. We want that to marry, right? That's what it's going to get us to stay and say, okay, that's a stable woman. But what keeps us intact? What keeps us guessing? What keeps us in a mystery? What keeps us there in the relationship is the hoe. Okay, this is why men cheat on certain women, right? Not because they're not hoes, but because they cheat with certain women because it becomes about the sexual nature. What is that? It is a freshness. It's the seductiveness, the allure, the ability to seduce a man even when he's in the marriage again. All right. So we need the housewife and the hoe. That's actually what people want in a marriage. Well, men want in a marriage, a lot of men. They want the housewife and the hoe. So by her saying, obviously, I am a hoe and the housewife, is a bit much because no one actually describes themselves as a hoe housewife. Because when you describe yourself as that, what you're leading with is a sexual side of you rather than the wife side of you. And when you lead like that in society, what you're actually promoting is I'm open and free and vulnerable, and I am using my sexual prowess to seduce men and have power in society. And this is what we have to understand about men. Men love the secretiveness of the hoe. This is why Mary Magdalene was so popular. These men of religion, and I say religion, not faith, religion, men of power, men in politics, men in sports, they like these hoes, if you want to call it, that are secretive because they want to have that sexual, mysterious encounter. But they don't marry these women, they marry housewives. Okay, now what Brittany Renner's done is try to bring the hoe and the housewife together. Now there's going to be some poor sucker out there that's going to marry her in when she's talking about the hoe and the housewife, all right? But actually what she needs to understand is the hoe is a secret power. It's not to be revealed to the public nature. You've got to carry the hoe as an energy that's sexual and sensual without it being overt. If you want the marriage, if you just want to do what you're doing right now, it's cool. It's not going to be a problem. There will be someone that will still marry. Don't get it twisted. But you actually shorten your market. And the reason why is because men understand the power of beauty and the power of sex. What men find disgusting and what men feel annoyed by is women who feel like their sexual power and beauty can never be, one, tamed, and two, that power overrides them. Because men have got egos and prides. So whenever they see Brittany Renner, they're getting triggered because it's like they can't tame her and they can't have her and they can't tell her and her power of beauty and sex can't is more domineering and more powerful than the power they have. That's why some men are triggered, right? They get annoyed at her. I personally don't care. To be honest, it's your business, darling. If that's what you want to do, it's up to you. That's you and your life and your child's life. You know what I'm saying? All right. But watch what she does here, right?
You wanted me to be a little whore.
Now that little yeah, it's a little sexy, seductive thing that she's thrown out there. I'm telling you now, she knows exactly what she's doing. Okay, she knows exactly what she's doing. That right there is what draws men in. That is a seductiveness that draws men in. Like I said in the last video, that is a siren's call. That change of voice and tone, right? The hand sliver up the thigh, if you notice that as well, right? The whole body began to shift in that moment. This girl knows how to shift from when she's doing this to shift to the sexual power, all right? And in itself, it's a power. Being that seductive has its own power. If you read like the House of Cleopatra was, the seductive, the allure of her, the sensuality of her, okay, right? Done in the right doses is so powerful. When it becomes overt, it can still work, but it turns people off. It turns men off, I should say. And you know what I mean?
No? Oh, that's no fun. I'm going to start calling people's opinions of me fan theories, because that's truly what they are. They are based in nothing but falsehood, projections, and judgment. Not too much creativity put into that. Now, I don't do apologies because I'm so not sorry.
I just snorted a little bit. I'm sorry. Okay, so again, she's talking about obviously fans creating theories about who she is and what she is, etc., etc. Right? I don't think every fan theory is correct. Definitely not. But there are a lot of ones which are just they're on the money and sending the money in the sense of they're describing what they're seeing. Right? This is a woman who now has become a mother who's dated a basketball player who then said beforehand that she was going to take man for idiot and took man for idiot, and then now she's doing a few set of videos now where she's talking about the fans' thoughts towards her. In this particular video, she's talking about how their thoughts are not original and are not creative, and she wants to address that, right? But she does the very thing that we're talking about, which is she uses the sexual energy to try and have power. In this life, we do things to have power. Money or wealth, you want to call it, status, I always forget the third one, man. Money, wealth, status, whatever, right, can become parts of powers, right? A woman that has a sexual law has a level of power. Let me give you an example. Esther in the Bible, beauty in itself is a level of power. When King Xerxes wanted to choose a wife, he said, bring all the most beautiful ladies in the land. First and foremost, not everybody can get in, because if you're not beautiful, you're not involved. But her beauty had a level of power. Now, what kept her there was her content and her character. But what I'm saying is what first got her in the door was her beauty. It wasn't a content of character. We didn't see that one. We just saw beauty. Okay, it holds a level of power. And what women have done in a society where men dominate by physical force is learn how to adapt and use certain traits of power to be able to survive in a world that is a man's world. You know what I'm saying, right? So what they use is seduction, sex, sensuality, okay, to be able to wield to their advantage. They understand that men want them, and if this is a cold-hearted, bloody world, men will just take. So in order for women to have a level of control or power in the transaction between men and women, they use sexuality, sensuality, seduction to then choose the strongest mate within the mating process, so they have a level of control. Now that trickles down over the ages and the times and the years and the centuries, whatever, to now when we have a situation where women can work, have a level of power financially, and have almost not an equal footing, but they have some level of footing in a society we live in. But they haven't forgotten their art of seduction. They haven't forgotten their art of manipulation. This right here, what Brittany Renner is showing us, is that she understands sexual seduction. So she starts putting on that voice again to try and show you again. She's going to draw man in. I mean, when you read the art of seduction in books like this, it just you look at it and you go, wow. Anyway.
To regret anything I've done is to regret the awareness that I've gained. I don't like the sound of that.
Now she's playing this role where she doesn't really care what our feelings and thoughts are. She doesn't really care. She's nonchalant. She's like, to forget is to forget what I've gained. It's like, darling, what did you gain? Because we're still using our sexual qualities and our sexual power as our strength, right? But that's meant to be the undercurrent. If you lead with that, that's where I don't want to say that because men can label women a hoe anyway. That's not. But when you lead with that, it's short-lived. But when you put it underneath the armor, when you put it underneath who you are and you add a little touch and a spice of it, you actually wield more influence, because the secretiveness and the mystery is what men love. When you're overt, there's no mystery and there is no all right, cool.
If it taught me something, it made me better. So why do I have to pacify a man to make you feel better? Because the difference between me and you is that I have more courage in my big toe than you do in your whole entire body. And anything that I say, just telling the truth. Anything I say that scares someone off, I'm glad. Because that's one less coward to waste my fucking time. Bye-bye. I stand on everything I said. I stand on everything I did. And if it doesn't work for you, then you don't work for me.
Now, can I be honest with you? To pretend as if we don't care what people think is also a lie. Because we're socialistic animals and human beings. Every man needs a tribe. Every man needs a team. Every man needs a people that will support them in their journey. Okay? When you're alone, what happened to Elijah when he felt like he was alone? When he felt like the world was threatening him, when Jezebel was saying to cut off his head and he was alone, what did he say? He wanted to run away and he said, God, I don't want to do this no more. He was tired. Why? When we feel like we're alone, we feel isolated. Okay, we grow tired and weary very, very quickly. But the Lord said, no, I've reserved 7,000 of them. Don't worry about that. Was it 7,000 or 700 or 50 of them? It might be 7,000. I might have to go and read that again. You know what I'm saying? But he said he reserved a number for them, right? And so it's like, you won't. I see what she's saying, right? She's like, oh, you know, I stand on everything I've said, basically whatever. And she has more courage and a big toe than anybody else, than some of you guys. And it's like, but you're not, you see, when you're playing a character, you would say these things like, I live in my truth, I'm willing to do things that you're not willing to do. And I hear you. And there's some element of truth in these bars that you're saying. But the truth of the matter is, the question we have to ask really is, are you happy though? Are you happy? There's something that we used to say when we were boys, when we were trying to get girls to cheat on their man, is, are you happy though? Because all that you're telling me right now, I hear it, but are you happy though? That's the key that we're asking. Okay? The nonchalant, I don't care, is just an act. We do care, right? We do care, but we have to show this strength and this outer face that we don't care to have a level of power in the situation, right? Anyway.
Because I'm not gonna lie. Who are you? You only lie when you're afraid. Who are you to me? What's crazy is there's a lot of y'all in relationships that are fucking miserable. And the only reason you're still in a relationship is because you tolerated being cheated on and mistreated. Let's get into it.
Now, this is the deflection. This is a deflection. There's truth in what she's saying, but it's a deflection. What has that got to do with what we're talking about here, darling? Brittany, what has that got to do with what we're talking about? They're dealing with you, and you're bringing up people being in unhappy relationships because they're being cheated upon. What has that got to do with you, sis? Okay? Right? You were talking about turning a hoe into a housewife, and the conversation has shifted now into trying to attack a certain particular group of people, women or men, and in a relationship where they're being cheated upon. What's that got to do with hoe or housewife? What has that got to do with hoe or housewife? It's a clear deflection, right? And it's done to shift the focus away from what you're talking about, right? Like it makes no sense to what you're talking about. Right, so this whole, some of you don't want to leave a relationship because you've been cheated on. She's right. There are people are weak. They don't want to leave relationships. They're staying in them. Yes. What right do they have to judge? Okay. What about the rest of the people that don't do that then? What about the rest of the people that are in good, healthy relationships?
A lot of you don't have the courage to leave something that's comfortable, something that looks good, because the unknown terrifies you.
That's truth.
I was there once, so it's no judgment. The right people will gravitate towards you. And it's just better to own your truth and see who's meant to be around. Because, sweetie, this ship is sailing. So if you want to jump overboard, if you want to steer clear, please leave me the fuck alone. I do not have time to waste. And I'm not like these other bitches that will just accept your crumbs. I need the whole loaf. The whole motherfucking thing. And if that makes me the Wicked Witch of the Ground. Then I'll be that.
It reminds me a little bit of Darian from Put a Ring in It. Happy to be a villain. Happy to be a villain. Because it's a role. It's a character. Right? And they understand that attention still comes to the villain. If anything, villains actually get more attention than even the heroes of today. Right? Because there's nothing more entertaining and nothing more that's going to pull views in than the actual villain of real life. She's playing a character in a role. When she really when someone gets really deep with her, this mask will fall off. When someone is able to bypass the character and the role she's playing, they will see a different side of Brittany. But right now, she's trying to defend herself publicly by putting on a brave face and showing that I don't care what people think. And really, she cares what people think, man. Do you know what I mean? We saw you break down the other day, darling. We saw in a video that you did last year or whatever that you broke down because you understood that there were some deep things within yourself. So when you're talking about owning your truth, there's also a lie within that which you haven't really owned yourself. You're kind of playing a character and a role, which is actually a falsity. But hey ho, let me leave it as that, guys. What's your thoughts? Again, I remember I did say it was strong language. I do apologize, but there was some strong language in there. But I thought it was necessary to play the video all the way through. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, because this is where people in life do this. They play a character and a role because they've been told so many times they are this. They've been told they're a hoe. They've been told they're a slut. They've been told they are only good for sex. They're only good for doing certain things, and then people end up believing those words and playing the character and the role, even though that's not really them, right? So we've got to be careful what we do say, because life and death is in the tongue. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. You know what time it is.